All right, everyone, we have another win for election integrity. The other day, SCOTUS finally handing down its decision in the case against Arizona's voter law, specifically two different provisions, and SCOTUS 6-3 upheld them. By the way, link in the description, archived of course, look at the NPR article and see if this is constructed in what could be even loosely perceived as a fair analysis of what happened. It's basically one long lament. What was happening was that Arizona, several years prior, and it was upheld, by the way, through the last elections. This did not play a role in 2020, the fact that there was an ongoing challenge to it. The Arizona voting law had two provisions specifically that were at hazard here. Number one was a ban on counting votes that were cast in the wrong precinct. So if you attempt to vote in a place where you're not a resident, the vote would be thrown out. This was upheld by the court, again 6-3. So, two of the ideological liberals joined the conservative minority. Roberts is not really a conservative by any particular stretch of the imagination. Yes, the Obamacare justice. And the other part was regards to ballot harvesting. Now, some people are pretending that this means that if a person is like wheelchair bound and crippled or something, or bedridden, that they're not able to vote. That is not true. A family member or a caregiver can still take that person's ballot and hand it in at the drop-off point. It just means that other people are not allowed to do so. The problem is ballot harvesting in its more malevolent form is basically groups of goofballs will go around knocking on doors, targeting older people who, maybe they'll vote, maybe they won't, take the blank ballot and fill it in for them, essentially attempting to steal votes. This has happened. This is beyond conjecture, by the way. We've had cases where people have been arrested for this. By the way, that is a significant federal crime. It's a felony. It's not a great idea to engage in such behavior. We had instances in the last election and in other elections long before that, where individuals had harvested either too many ballots or improperly harvested them or were filling them out themselves. That is, it wasn't the person can't bring their ballot in, they filled it out, they hand it off to you and you bring it in for them. It's more like, hey, we can do this for you, give us your ballot. And sometimes there were even payoffs made as the result of that. Now, if I'm some poor elderly person on Social Security, of all things, which won't even be around much longer, trust me, and someone offers me $50 for my ballot, which wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination, or even like fucking $20, hey, I don't have to eat cat food this week. Wow, my cat won't starve, and then I won't have to skin and eat, the cat's corpse either. Yeah, of course. Of course, give me the $20 here. I have my ballot. Hey, you want another one? I've got a printer out and back. That's what'll happen. And this wasn't a close decision. This was 6-3. So again, the conservatives, there are four of them on the court, voted in favor of Arizona. Roberts, who's, kind of a liberal, and then one of the liberal justices. It's not even a partisan decision at that point. It's very funny because it's like, oh, Kagan was against it. I can't remember. Sotomayor was against it. Okay. So there was a split along the liberal lines here. There's no split among conservatives. It's not preventing anyone from voting. The whole point of the ballot harvesting ban isn't to ban the idea of someone else taking your vote in. It's just making sure it's someone reasonably trustworthy actually connected to you. Family member, caregiver. Those are the only people that should be doing that. A random person should not show up at your door offering to take your ballot in. Sometimes people are like, yeah, fucking take the ballot. They didn't even fill it in. Well, that's very, very problematic. As far as the ban on accepting ballots cast in the wrong precinct, that could be a little bit dicey, and unfortunately they were being considered together, it seems, in this case, as per the fact that they're both part of the same provision in the Arizona voter law. That's a little bit different because I could see there could be a problem with that, where at the last minute a precinct has changed or something, or who necessarily knows exactly where the precinct ends. In some large metropolitan area this could be a problem potentially. That might need separate reform, but certainly if you're dovetailing it with this other consideration, which is that ballot harvesting can only be done by people connected to you, not by some random politically connected stranger who shows up in a van and offers you $10, that makes sense. By the way, separately in a California case, and this one has, I think, the left rankled even more. This just means that they'll probably be upholding all of the various state voter laws that are being imposed, like Georgia and Texas and shit. This very good news for our republic, by the way. But one thing that rankled them even more, connected to this, the last decision of their particular year's docket, now was a California case involving donors to charitable groups. Politically connected, I believe, specifically. And the idea that now these private groups that are collecting money, they can shield the names and the data of people who make large donations. Before, if you made, I can't remember what the cap was, but a specifically large donation, if you were a large-scale donor to one of these groups, they had to list your name as a major donor. Now they don't have to do that anymore. And it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, now you can have, like George Soros, give $50 million to some supposedly charitable but ultimately political group, and you won't know that that money came from George Soros. That's the problematic side. The positive side is that you can have someone who's genuinely committed to a charity and stuff, and now they can't be doxxed for supporting it. So that means that if Styx Hexenhammer becomes rich and donates a bunch of money to a group that, you know, helps people buy guns or something, I'm not going to get doxxed for it. Well, I think that it's a good trade-off. I think that the benefit outweighs the risk specifically there. NPR lamenting that one too. It was the death of the republic. And then Yahoo, actually, it was funny. Yahoo was applauding the decision. There's an opinion piece there. They're like, oh, this isn't a win for the far right or anything like that. It's a win for free speech, because now people can speak freely and not have to worry about literally being on a list somewhere. Yeah, interesting times. This was a very, very strange slew of positive news from SCOTUS, by the way. You'll remember that free speech case, and that was, you know, wasn't it 8-1 in that one, involving the high schooler and her Snapchat profanity and getting banned from the sports team and lashing out saying fuck school, basically, and won that case as well. This SCOTUS incarnation has been relatively pro-gun and pro-free speech so far. Personally, I'm pleased with it. And at the moment, it's unlikely that any of the sane justices are going to kick it anytime soon. If Trump gets 2024, he'll get a couple more, by the way. That would be funny. It would truly be the Trump court. I could deal with that for the next generation. That's about all. Peace out.